everybody, Dave here. We have a new project. This is the Acoustic Research AR310HO, and HO stands for high output. There's some big boys. The boxes are very well made. These speakers were made in the mid-90s, I believe. Seem to be very popular home theater solutions. In fact, the guy I got them from is a previous customer, and he purchased some new Klipsch towers, and he was getting rid of these and said if I wanted them, I could have them. And they have some problems, some condition problems, and I think they have an audio issue. Let's call it a potential improvement. So we're gonna do that. Let's take a little tour of them and show you what we've got here. I do have the grills. The grills are in so-so condition. They've got probably a dozen holes each, and they're going to need to be recovered. If you take a look at this one, you can see we've got some foam missing. Actually, are these foam or rubber? Well, we're going to have to look at that a little more closely, but we're going to have to redo the surrounds. This one's got a pushed in, once upon a time it had a pushed in aluminum dome. Somebody's, looks like maybe pulled that out. It doesn't seem to affect the function and operation. So we've got mid tweeter mid here, and then the woofer is down here on the side. So this one has a little damage. They've got some damage up the top, the missing veneer. So we'll have to do some of our normal cabinet touch-ups, but they're very big, very heavy. He had them laying on their side with the woofer pointed up on a vaulted ceiling, and they were very loud, actually. And these are just some felt pads he had to, dampen vibrations. There's the other, and you can see they're dusty from being laid down like that. So mostly cosmetic, and it looks like I've seen other pictures where there's a felt or some sort of material covering this whole mid-tweeter mid area, and that seems to be gone or degraded. I'm not sure what the situation is with that. So we have to get some surrounds. I believe they're 5 1/4. I think I have some 5 1/4s, but I don't think I have 4. So we'll have to probably order something there. And you can see how they've been cooked pretty well here. Probably this one looks like maybe it was laying in the sun and it caused this one to degrade faster than this one, but this one is starting to go too. All right, around the back side, just to show you what we have by-wire capability, and it looks like the plates are missing, and it is ported. You can see there's a port right here. There's quite a bit of information online about these speakers, and one of the other things is several people have complained about the lack of bass, which is maybe surprising, but I think rather than lack of bass, it's probably just the goodness of the mid and the tweeter is probably playing too loud, because the mods that I've seen seem to basically dampen out the mid and the tweeter and allow a little more balanced output across the entire frequency spectrum. So I've actually got the parts to be able to do that mod. It requires a couple of resistors and a capacitor, and you can wire it up actually outside. You don't even have to open the box to put the modification in. So we'll probably, we're going to do that too. And he's got some, looks like nail polish on here. We'll try to clean that off. And maybe after we get them refoamed, we'll do an A/B test, mod versus no mod. And if it sounds significantly better, we'll probably mod both of them. I think the total cost of the parts is, $10 per speaker, something like that. Not very much. So let's start our process, and obviously we've got to get these out, get these cleaned up, and we'll take you through all that. All right, haven't done the full removal, but we pulled off the degraded foams just to check size, and 5 1/4 is the right size, but I do only have 2 of them, so I'm going to have to order a couple more because we're going to do all 4. As far as the mod goes, this is what you need. And there's a post on Classic Speaker Pages that has, I think Pete B put it up there. We need a 10 microfarad cap, 4 ohm resistor, and a 20 ohm resistor. So we've got those, and I had those available. So value, and if you go look at the posting on Classic Speaker Pages, you'll get a chance to see the theory and the comments that people have made about this modification. So we'll work on cosmetics next, and while we're ordering the surrounds we need, I'm going to use foam and get the baskets and the cones cleaned up and get ready for when those foams come in. Then we can put it on. We'll make the mod up. Just be a little simple. Maybe I won't even solder it yet. I'll probably just clip it together. That way, if it's not usable, we won't have. We'll be able to scavenge the parts off, and we'll work on the boxes. Okay, we'll come back when we've got the next step ready. Yeah, pretty beefy drivers. Here's the part number. Pull it up just so you can see that. D030061. This has turned into a bit of an adventure on these mid surrounds, and I just want to show you a couple things. This is a piece of the surround that I scavenged, and I don't know if you'll be able to pick it up, but you might. If I get the light just right, I believe the camera is able to pick up a little bit of light reflection on the edge of that surround right here, where it's broken. This is very brittle, and I can, easily break off and tear off a piece. But if I get the lighting just right, you might just pick up a little light reflection off the edge. And, it didn't look like foam, it didn't feel like foam, but it also doesn't look or feel like rubber. It feels like this is almost some sort of flexible plastic, to be honest with you. And if you measure the thickness, it comes in around 11 or 12 thousandths of an inch. Okay, I don't believe it's rubber. I have rubber surrounds from multiple different manufacturers, and they're all in the 40 thousandths range, and also compressible somewhat and putting force. This material, now you got to remember, it's mid 90s, so it's 30 years old. It is not compressible at all. It's 10 or 11 thousandths, and it does not compress. So I've ended up, and I've used ChatGPT, I went on the internet. Nobody can confirm what the original surrounds of the mids were made from. And so I've used foam. That's what I've ordered. That's what, I've got 2 of them done. I'm gonna finish the other 2. And for 5 1/4 inch drivers, that's pretty much the standard. There really aren't a lot of rubber surrounds available at any sort of reasonable price, so we're going to use the foam. But I suspect this might be one of the reasons that's led to the premature failure of these. I got a feeling this is some sort of experimental or was a short-term use material, and I think it's just some sort of plastic, flexible plastic, and it didn't hold up. I just wanted to show you the ChatGPT discussion I had, my original input, and here you can see that they're not able to confirm whether it's foam or rubber with any original source. Some people call it foam or a foam-like material, and I would agree. It seems to be a foam-like material, but it seems very solid, to be honest with you. So I'm moving ahead with the foam surrounds as my replacements. I don't think it's rubber, and to be honest with you, I don't think it was foam either. But that's my opinion, and I just haven't been able to find any authoritative source to tell me otherwise. Before we build this mod, I thought it was worth taking a look at the original source for this information. This is Pete B. He's a common contributor across many of the audio forums. This is on classicspeakerpages.net, and he's the originator of the post about this modification. And he talks about how he and his friend, thought the bass was a bit off on these, what they've done, and I'll scroll ahead here and just kind of get to the summary of what you need to do. It's a fairly lengthy post, but let's see. So here's a diagram and a description of the basic modification. Take off the bi-wiring terminal off the positive side. Now he's wired directly into the binding post with the modification, which is the two resistors that you see and the single cap. I'm going to wire up something and use some wire nuts and keep it a little more remote just for prototyping. I'll show you that in a minute. But what you can see here is the resistor on the right behind the capacitor. That's the 4 ohm resistor. The 20 ohm resistor is horizontally across the tweeter terminals, which is the upper horizontal sandcast resistor. And then the capacitor is in parallel with the 4 ohm resistor, and that goes from positive woofer to positive tweeter. And you leave the binding strap on the ground side, and then you connect your amplifier to the woofer only. So then therefore the signal goes through. To get to the tweeter, the signal has to go through the capacitor and the 4 ohm resistor to get to the tweeter input, and then we've got this other 20 ohm resistor on the horizontal, and that essentially what this is doing is making the bass sound relatively higher compared to the tweeter and mid. However, what you're really doing is you're dampening down and attenuating the mid and tweeter. And we'll see if we can show that with some data as well. So that's the mod. Let me show you my version and my prototype version, and then if I sense a good difference here as well with my ears and maybe with some data, then we'll make this into a permanent mod. All right, here's just a simple diagram and layout of what we've created, and I've just used wire nuts for now, and that way if I want to reconfigure it, I can do that easily without having to unsolder everything. But this will be our tweeter connections. These two legs will go under the existing binding posts. These two legs will go under the existing binding posts for the woofer. So this wire essentially acts as a, I don't have the original plates that tie the ground side together. So this wire serves that purpose because you see it's going to be continuous all the way through. This is the 20 ohm resistor. I had 20 watt version, so Pete B recommended 10 watt, but I had 20, so that'll be fine. Over on this side, we've got the 10 microfarad capacitor and the 4 ohm resistor in parallel, and those are bridged from the positive woofer to the positive side on the tweeter. So the input signal will come here from the amplifier, and so it has to pass through this capacitor resistor network to get to the tweeter. So that's what we're going to try to, we've made that up, and we'll install it next, and we'll do a little listening. Okay, here's a quick snapshot of what it looks like in place. So we've got our 4 ohm and 10 microfarad cap here, wired into the tweeter, and then the other end wired into the woofer positive side. We're tied together over here on the negative side, and then we've got the other resistor. And this is where we'll wire our main source input. Our speaker inputs will come right here to the woofer side. So that's all there is to it, and we'll do a little listening now. I did quite a bit of listening and collected some data. This is for speaker A. I listened to both. It's the baseline configuration versus the modified configuration. You can go frequency by frequency, and I don't see a lot of change in the bass relative to the mid and tweeter. So I did finish making the mod. It could have something to do with my measurement technique and my room. So the new owner can decide whether they want to install the mod or not. But for me, I didn't notice a big difference, but it could be me, it could be my room, and that's something that the new owner can figure out. I neglected to mention this baffle area with the 2 mids and the tweeter. I looked at some online photos, and there was clearly probably some open cell foam. Actually, it may have been closed cell foam, but some sort of foam material around the 2 drivers, around these 3 drivers, that has been degraded, and somebody removed it. And so I've been debating whether or not to put that back or find something to put on there, but I think we're going to skip that. I also noted that this lower mid, it's angled down. The recess for the baffle, on the baffle for holding the driver, is recessed on the lower edge, which causes this lower mid to point down just a little bit. So it's not straight out like this one's straight out, and this one's a little bit pointing down. I don't know. Let me just change the angle here so you can see that. You can see it's about 1/4 of an inch. So that probably has to do with the mid-tweeter mid configuration and wanting to get some off-axis, on the vertical axis, wanting to get a little more dispersion on those 2 drivers. So that's interesting. I've cleaned up all the ding-dongs that were on here. Those are all repaired. We had the one here, this one as well. So that one's repaired. This one's repaired. This one's repaired. Those came out fine. So it's just a matter now of putting everything back together. I believe I'm going to sell them with the mod. I'll sell it with the mod included, and then the new owner can decide whether or not they want to install the mod. As I mentioned earlier, the data doesn't really show much. Maybe it's knocking down the mid and the highs a little, but and just listening to general music, I don't really hear a big difference. So so be it. I neglected to mention, I did look for another trim ring for the side firing woofer on the one, and couldn't really come up with one. So what I did do is I painted the inner circumference of the cutout so that's not bare particle board. It just helps hide keeps it all black and hides the fact that the trim ring is missing, just as a reminder. That's the trim ring right there. It would be nice to dress it up, but you can only do what you can do. So let's do a quick listening, and these will be ready to go.